Then on Sports Central, we go over our March Madness game preview and prediction on the round of 64 matchup between the North Carolina Tar Heels and the Marquette Golden Eagles. Both teams have had good seasons to this point. You got North Carolina as one of the top teams in the ACC heading into the tournament. They're facing off against Marquette, who definitely has got some good experience going into this game. They've got an experienced team, plus they've played 12 games against ranked opponents going into this matchup. So should make for a good one. We'll be going for a full game preview and prediction on this matchup here today, starting out with your team trends. North Carolina 24-9 overall in the season. So, I mean, it's not been a bad season for North Carolina. This team has played really well at times in this season. They've got definitely a very high ceiling, I would say, going into the tournament. And but the problem is this team has been a bit inconsistent too. That's been the main concern with the Tar Heels this season, is because, I mean, once in a while they just have an absolutely terrible game. And so that does concern going into the tournament, because of obviously in the basketball tournament in March Madness, it's pretty unforgiving. I mean, if you have one bad game, you are out of the tournament. So for North Carolina, a team that's had a bit of consistency issues, I mean, that's going to be something to keep an eye on going into this tournament. But they're 15-5 in conference, and then 2-4 against teams in the top 25. As for Marquette, 19-12 overall, 11-8 in conference, and they're 6-6 in games against the top 25. So Marquette has played 12 games against the top 25, which definitely is something they can use to their advantage. I mean, they've played a tough schedule. They've played some good opponents, and many of them. So Marquette, I mean, they've played double the amount of top 25 teams than North Carolina. They've played 12 versus North Carolina, who's played 6. But then again, North Carolina does have 5 more wins overall versus Marquette, as UNC has got 24 versus Marquette, who's got 19. But, I mean, both teams here, I mean, I think both UNC and Marquette are definitely teams to keep an eye on to potentially make. I mean, I could see both these teams definitely potentially making a deep tournament run. I mean, I think North Carolina's got a higher ceiling versus Marquette, but I mean, then again, North Carolina inconsistency has been an issue for this team more so than Marquette. So you kind of got pros and cons to both sides here, but UNC has got a high ceiling, but then again, their floor is pretty low. I mean, once again, inconsistency has come back to bite a bit. I mean, they've played some great performances. They've had some excellent games over the course of the season, but then again, they also have some terrible performances too that definitely want to be forgotten about by North Carolina. But games can be on Thursday, March 17th, Fort Worth, Texas, and your tip-off is 4:30 p.m. Eastern. Spreads going North Carolina here by 3, so it's close as expected. 8 versus 9 games are almost always like coin tosses. I mean, both teams are extremely capable of winning, and it could definitely go either way. But UNC is favored. Over-under is 152, and your BPI is going North Carolina at 61.1%. So Tar Heels are favored by both the BPI and the spread. Series history, North Carolina leads at 4-2. Last game was in 2021, so pretty recently. Marquette won that game 83-70. Here's your stat comparison for this game. North Carolina has got 77 points a game. They allow 71 on average, and then for Marquette, it's slightly closer margins. You got 74 points in a game and then 70 points allowed. And then if you look at the BPI rankings, you got North Carolina, who's 26, versus Marquette, who's 54. Some notable matchups as well over the course of the season. You can see North Carolina played Duke twice. They beat them once, and of course, everyone knows that game. That was at the end of the regular season. Coach K's last game with Duke at home, and North Carolina goes in there and just pulls a stunner. Quite a game that was. And Tar Heels, despite what happens in the tournament, they've got that, which is pretty incredible, I can imagine, for Tar Heels fans and this team for sure. But they did lose to Kentucky by 29, so you can see already, I mean, this team has got a high ceiling. They beat Michigan by 21 earlier in the season. They beat Virginia Tech twice, but they lost to Kentucky by 29 at one point this season. I mean, this team, they've got a couple of ugly losses for sure over the course of the season, but then again, they've got some amazing wins, that's for sure. They lost to Purdue by 9 as well earlier in the season too. And you can see the seedings of each of those teams in the tournament. So Duke is a 2 seed, Kentucky's a 2 seed, Purdue's a 3 seed. So you can kind of see the strength of those wins when it comes down to it at the end of the season. Marquette, they beat Villanova twice. That's definitely something they have going for them. They lost to UCLA by 11, beat Illinois by 1, lost to UConn twice. So UConn's definitely not been the best team for them to face. They lost to Creighton 3 times as well in the season, but they did beat Seton twice. So some teams Marquette has played very well against. Meanwhile, others not so much. some key points for this game. You got North Carolina's 24-9. Very impressive down the stretch. They've got a high ceiling once again. I mean, North Carolina, I could see the Tar Heels making a deep tournament run more than Marquette. But then again, Marquette, Justin Lewis, huge impact player, obviously. He's played an excellent season for this team. They've played some tough opponents for sure. Marquette, they've got a strong schedule, and they've played decently well in most of those games. And they've got a quick, fast-paced offense. That's what's dangerous about this team. I mean, in a moment's notice, this team can get up on you by 10 points, and I mean, it's going to be tough for you to come back. So Marquette, that's why this team is dangerous, and honestly, both teams are very dangerous, but in different ways. So in North Carolina, once again, they've had their ups and downs this season. There's no doubt about it. They've had some excellent games, some top-tier performances, but at the same time, they've got some terrible ones too. But that said, let's get to the prediction here for North Carolina and Marquette. I'm going to go with the Tar Heels here. 76-74 is my score prediction. And Tar Heels, I just feel like North Carolina here, I got to go with them. I'm just a bit more confident with picking them versus Marquette. I mean, both teams are very capable of winning this game. Marquette's played, I would say, a tougher schedule. But at the same time, North Carolina also has got a very high ceiling. And I feel like, I mean, in high-pressure situations, I mean, North Carolina has played decently well this season. If you look at, I mean, the Duke game that we saw at the end of the regular season is a perfect example. I mean, the amount of pressure that went into that game, I can imagine, was just incredibly high for both teams. You could say Duke in particular, but for North Carolina too, I mean, just a huge regular season game. And North Carolina went into Duke and got the win there, and that was incredible for them. So, I mean, North Carolina, high-pressure situations, they've played decently well. They've been a bit inconsistent, but I feel like they're going to play well in this game and get it done, 76-74. It's going to be close, though. I don't see this one being a blowout by any means, but I'm going to go 55% towards the Tar Heels. Over-under is 152. I'm going to take the under for this game, and Marquette to cover what is, I think, a 3-point spread towards North Carolina right now. So I do have Marquette covering, but it could go either way. Both teams are definitely close, and of course, it's an 8 versus 9 game. So, but let me know your thoughts in the comments below on this game. Who you think is going to win? Drop that in the comments below, and I appreciate you guys watching as always. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. Catch you on the next one.